I'm Moni Lashes, I'm the drummer of the Babes, and you are watching Channa Channa Channa's podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my podcast. This is the first episode for 2021. We have a very special guest today joining all the way from Adelaide, Australia. We got Moni Lashes of the Babes. Hi Moni.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Quite well, thanks. We're pretty lucky down here in Australia. How about you?
I'm good also. So how's the situation in your place with the COVID and everything?
So we live in South Australia, so we're probably one of the luckiest places in the world right now because we have, I think, zero cases of COVID and there's no restrictions really left in place. So life is pretty much normal, apart from the fact that we can't leave our state or go to any other country. So
Right,
that sucks. But yeah, we're pretty lucky in comparison to other places in the world.
right. Uh, Moni, can you tell me a little bit about your city?
Our city, so we're from Adelaide, which is it's a relatively small capital city of Australia, but it's got a bit of a country town feel to it. I think there's just under 2 million people that live here.
Hmm.
It's a very nice place to grow up as a kid and make friends. But yeah, I mean we love it here, but we just can't wait to get out on tour again and leave the state and country as soon as we can.
Right. So when did you last played live?
Our last show was actually in February 2020 in
Whoa.
Osaka in Japan at the Hard Rock Cafe. So it's almost been a year since we've performed live, which is crazy for us because
Right.
we've had a very busy last couple of years. But having said that, we're pretty lucky that we snuck that tour in because that was um that was a great tour for us. We played a couple shows in Tokyo with a Swedish band called Bullet, which was awesome because they're a great rock and roll band.
Right.
And then we played the Hard Rock Cafe, and Hard Rock Cafe Osaka is actually closed down now. So we were the last band to play there live, which is just crazy to us because a year ago things were very different to what they are now.
Right. I was watching this interview on YouTube where this Japanese lady was interviewing you, and I noticed that you and your sister was actually speaking in Japanese, right?
Yeah, not very well, but we were speaking in Japanese.
I mean, how did you
we
learn Japanese?
Oh yeah, my sister and I, and also my brothers in the band as well. We all studied Japanese at school growing up. My sister and I chose to continue it through high school, and then I did it at university. But I'm still nowhere near good enough to speak it fluently. But each time we've been to Japan, I've been to Japan 3 times now,
Right.
two with the band. So each time we go there, we get to meet really great people in the crowds, and they're really excited that when we try to speak Japanese, even though it's terrible, but we try. And I'm actually more confident in writing Japanese. So if anyone asks for autographs, I always write their name in Japanese, and I think it blows their mind just a little bit. But
Right.
yeah, we're not proficient and fluent. I wish we were because I love Japan.
Right. Right. So Modi, what you been doing during the lockdown while there's no live performances? What you been up to?
So since we pretty much landed back in February last year, we that's when the whole coronavirus really hit. When we landed back in Australia, it was pretty much within 2 days the world was in chaos.
Right.
So we kind of had a chat between us in the band and just thought, what are we going to do? We're not going to be able to tour. We don't want to lose all of our momentum because we just last year we did I think 2 or 3 international tours. So we didn't want to lose all of that effort we put in. So we figured because we can't tour, we'll write the new album. So we've been working really hard, and we've got pretty much a new album ready to record. I've been actually the room I'm in. I built this during the lockdown. It's a recording studio, so we're
Wow.
in case the lockdown gets extended or we're not allowed to leave for another year, at least we can record the whole album here and get it rolling because we've we worked hard on these songs and we're really proud. So we can't wait to hear them as a final product.
Right, right. So, Moni, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and then how did you get into music?
Yeah, so I'm the eldest out of my brother and sister, so they're both in the band. So Corey is the bass player. He's our little brother, even though
Right.
he's like 6'4". And my sister Donna is the lead guitarist, and she's the middle child, and she's about 6'1". So I'm the shorty, even though I'm the oldest. But we grew up in a really close family. You know, we my best friends are my brother and my sister, and from like a very young age, our dad and mum always had music playing. Dad's actually a drummer from back in the day, so I just remember like some of my favorite childhood memories involved dad had a little electronic kit because he had to get rid of his real drum kit in
Right.
order to get a house for our family. So we had electronic drums, and Donna and Corey were probably like, I don't know, 2 years old and maybe 4 years old, and I was like 6 or 7. And I just remember playing the electric drums, playing along to Elvis on TV, and you know, Kiss would come on and we'd play along to that. So yeah, that's where it probably started for me with drums.
Mm.
Donna always kind of leaned towards guitar more. So when she was like maybe 10 or 11, she started having lessons. But Corey was never really musical. Like our bass player brother was like much more of a sporty guy. So he always focused on the sports, really good at soccer, really
Mm.
good at karate and stuff. But yeah, and we just like Donna and I grew up jamming together. We our first ever gig was our dad's 40th birthday. We only knew one song and it wasn't even a whole song. It was one verse of That's Amore by Dean Martin. And we played that probably like 30 or 40 times in a row until we realized that there was no longer any family members watching us. They'd all legged it inside. But yeah, that's one of the first times that we ever played anything in front of other people. And from there, it's just kind of steamrolled out of control now, you know.
Right,
We've had
right.
a couple of lineup changes. We had different bass players and singers. But as a result of that, you know, we asked our brother, like, do you think you could learn bass and join our band? And he was always our roadie and helping us out anyway. So he's like, yeah, I don't see why not. Next thing you know, we're like touring America and Japan with him. And, you know, he's only played bass for what, maybe 2.5, 3 years now.
Right, right. So, growing up, what were your like favorite music?
So my personal favorite band of all time is Kiss,
Right.
just because like I've grown up on it, and I just love the drummers really. Like you know, every era of Kiss, I respect all the drummers. Everyone brought their own little spin on it. Um,
Right.
but you know, like we came from a very ranging upbringing of music. So I love listening to Elvis. I love listening to Ted Nugent. Just like I listen to lots of R&B as well because I think it's got great drums and great bass sounds in it. So it's a real variety for me. There's probably no 2 days where I listen to the same bands or songs because my playlist must just be one big random mess.
Right. So, what was fascinating about Kiss for you?
I think for me, it was the fact that they didn't hide the drummer in the back. He was always like something interesting to look at. He had his own drum riser, or he had, you know, an elevating drum riser, or just smoke and just craziness instead of just being the guy at the back. Because, you know, at school, I played in concert bands and orchestras, and I was always hidden at the back, which is fine. But like, you go from that to seeing, you know, Peter Chris destroying his drum kit at the end, and you know, Eric Singer in later Kiss years just doing epic stuff with stick tricks. It just kind of blew my mind. And then like further to that, when I saw Tommy Lee with his you know, roller coaster kit and just like the revolving roll cage kit, I think it was like 80, I don't know, 84 or something.
Right.
That was crazy to me. I just want to do something like that so badly. That's pretty much why I've like my version of that is putting the motorbike on my drum kit when we
Right.
go on tour. So I have a Harley Davidson that attaches to the front of my drum kit, and the wheel spins, and I've got an exhaust pipe that blows smoke, and even the headlight works on the front of the fork of the Harley. So that's my version of making a point on stage.
Right. Whose idea was that to, I mean, build that, incorporate Harley into the drum kit? Because that's the first time I saw somebody having that sort of a setup.
I saw one of my idols is a lady called Roxy Petrucci, and she played with Vixen. But before Vixen, she played in a band with her sister called Madam X, and they actually had Sebastian Bach as one of their singers for the first lineup. But when I saw her, she had just the handlebars attached to her drum. There was nothing else at the time. And I thought, whoa, that's epic. But I'm going to take it one step further, and I'm going to make the wheels spin. And so my dad actually like fabricated that motorbike and put like a working motor in it so that the wheel can spin at different speeds and different songs. So yeah, I just like Harleys. I just like all this kind of American biker stuff. I love hot rods and classic muscle cars. So when we write the songs, that's pretty much what our songs are about, you know, riding motorbikes and going in American deserts. Like even this room, even though we're in Australia, I just wanted to make this room feel like when we were on tour in the States, we really loved being up in South Dakota, and all the bars and clubs that we went to were all wood finish and, you know, classic Americana. So I just figured if we made our recording studio like that, maybe we'd get some, you know, inspiration and have some fun times in here.
Right. So how's the scene in Adelaide where you grew up? How is the scene there for rock scene?
Being such a, you know, a relatively small city, it's got a small population, and there are quite a few live venues before COVID, but it's a difficult market here because it's hard to get people to come out of their houses because we've got, you know, we're so far spread apart. It's quite like a country town. If you want to play a show in the city, it's very inconvenient for people to get to some of our gigs. So we try and do less gigs in Adelaide, but when we do, we promote and hype it so that we get big crowds there and make it count. So we haven't played in our home city since August 2019. So the next time we do it, we think it's going to be a great show, and hopefully we get a big turnout.
Right. So Moni, if you have to choose, who is your like top 5 drummers?
Top 5. It pretty much changes every day. But I'll spout out 5. It's not in any particular order. So there's Tommy Lee for the showmanship. There's John Bonham, which every drummer says, just because he's like a pioneer in some aspects of drumming. Buddy Rich, because he had so much power. He's like an old jazz and big band drummer. He had so much power, even though he was, you know, relatively early pioneer for using rudiments and things in drum solos. It was really, really cool to grow up watching that. My dad used to show me videos, and there's no way I'll ever be a quarter as good as he is. But it's just something good to aspire to when you watch drummers like that. Who else? I like Roxy Petrucci, as I said before, because she was, you know, she doesn't play like a girl, and that's not like an offensive thing. When I watch someone play drums, I want to see them hit it, and she hits it. And it's not like, oh, she's good for a girl. I think she's great for a drummer. And is that 3 or 4? I should be able to count to 4. I'm a drummer. I think that's 4.
Yeah, 4.
So one more great drummer that I love. You know what? Alex Van Halen, because he his drum sound, his snare drum sound is pretty much what I try and replicate. So I don't know if you can see it, but around here, there we go. That's my snare drum, and it's a marching snare drum. So it's about 14 by 13 inches deep, and it's unheard of in rock music because it's very hard to tune. But it sounds like a cannon when I hit it, and the reason I wanted that is because Alex Van Halen has a very similar sounding snare drum in some of the earlier albums. So yeah, that's probably my 5.
Right. So was the Babes your first band, or you had bands before that?
I played in school bands, just I went to an all-girls school for my middle school years, so I was like the first drummer there, and they weren't used to having a drummer, so they threw a whole bunch of orchestral kind of stuff at us to play, and that was great. Like at the time, I didn't like it, but in hindsight, it really made me a better drummer because it taught me discipline, and I read drum charts and everything like that. So it was great practice. But then I did join like a local punk band when I was maybe like 19, 20.
Right.
And we were pretty okay. I'll give it that. It was fun. I was the only girl in the band, and it was 3 other guys, and we had some fun times. But then I decided to start my own band, and here we are.
So, why did you decided to name the band the Babes?
So with our band, so Donna and I saw the movie The Runaways, the recent one, or not recent anymore, maybe like 10 years now. But when that came out, I went with Donna to the movies, and we kind of looked at each other, we're like, why don't we just do it? Why don't we just start a band? Like there's no reason. We have, we can give it a go. We saw Joan Jett, we saw Lita Ford, and so we tried, and we've had some fun times already. But the reason we called it the Babes was we grew up watching like 70s gang movies, like The Warriors and Rumble in the Bronx and all like A Bronx Tale, sorry. It's like those kind of movies where they've got the vests and they've got the name on the patches on the back, and they ride motorbikes or they're just doing gnarly stuff. And they've always got like a cool name, like, The Warriors, or, just the, riffs and everything like that. So we're like, okay, well, we're going to have only us 2 girls and 2 guys. We don't want any other girls in the band because girls are trouble. So we're like, well, you need to have 2 dudes who are like hotties or babes. So we just figured that we'd make it like a gang of like trying to make the dudes babes as well. And since then it's been like, we couldn't believe there was no other band that had it. So we like trademarked it. And, we heard similar stories about the band The Killers. They're a relatively recent band in the scheme of things, and they couldn't believe it when no one had actually used the name The Killers before.
Right.
So we're a bit lucky with the Babes as well.
Right. So the lineup, can you tell me the lineup again of the band?
Yeah, so when it first started, it was Donna and I, and we auditioned, we put posters up, flyers up everywhere around our city, trying to find a bass player and a singer. But we wanted to make a point of not mentioning that we're girls, because we didn't want to attract certain types of people to come for auditions. We wanted people to come to auditions because they liked the bands that we listed on the flyer, or they just genuinely wanted to be in the band. So we put a photo of Motley Crue up on this flyer and said, do you look like this, or do you like sounding like this? Give this number a call. We also mentioned Kiss as an essential band to like.
Right.
And we got a couple of phone calls. One guy came and he auditioned for bass, and he couldn't believe that there were girls, but he seemed pretty cool, and he joined the band as a bass player. He became our singer a little while later. We had like a bit of a crisscross around for a while. And like we had a couple lineup changes, a couple singers, and the singer we currently have now, JD, he's like a brother to us, but he actually auditioned in that first round, and he was like the nicest dude out of the whole bunch, but he was also a pro wrestler at the time.
Okay.
So he was a full-time wrestler, and I just thought to myself, he's not going to be able to commit to us. We want to do a practice every week. He's got wrestling every night. But little did I know that very next week he went off and started having proper singing lessons for the next 6 years. And it just happened to be that he was singing in a local Guns N' Roses tribute show about 3 years ago. And I saw a video of it. I'm like, who is this guy? He's got a great voice. And then Donna and our bass player were like, that's JD. He's the one who auditioned for us like 6-7 years ago. And we needed a singer because our singer had left at that time. So I just sent him a message. I'm like, hey man, I saw you singing in the Guns N' Roses tribute show. We haven't got a singer at the moment. Would you like to give it a try? And obviously he jumped on board and things have been like glue ever since. But it was pretty much because of that audition where we said, nah, it's not going to work out because of his schedule, that he went and had lessons. And it's just like funny how it all worked out. It just was meant to be for us, I think.
Right, right. So, your debut, you had your debut EP or album. It's called Rock and Roll Gang, right? So, what is this Rock and Roll Gang?
So Rock and Roll Gang is like the people who follow our band, we're super lucky to have them. They're real diehard fans and diehard supporters who just love rock and roll, and they've got our backs no matter what, and we've got their backs no matter what. So I wrote the song Rock and Roll Gang, and pretty much like it's the unofficial official fan club of our band. So once you join the Rock and Roll Gang, you know, you get you're in it for life. You've got someone who's going to have your back forever, and that's like kind of a testament because I'm obsessed with Twisted Sister. So like I just get the vibe whenever I watch Twisted Sister. I just know that Dee's got my back. So it's like that working class rock and roll, and that's like what our band is so adamant on, you know, promoting. It's like underdog, working class, nothing pretentious rock and roll. But
Right.
yeah, we've had some like lifelong Rock and Roll Gang members. You know, they like fly around the world to come see us. Like someone came from Japan to come watch us, and you know, people come into state to watch all of our shows. It blows our mind, but
Mm,
we just love them so much. So we're just really lucky to have anyone who likes our music, let alone a rock and roll gang.
right. So, how was the feeling when you were able to actually go and tour in the US because you're so fan of Americana? So,
Yeah,
actually be able to play in. I know that you guys even play in Whiskey a Go Go, right?
yeah, that whole American tour is like a dream. If we didn't have video footage, I don't think I'd believe that it actually happened. Because we'd only been a lineup with, you know, with JD and our brother Corey. We'd only been a lineup for like 6 months at the time that we got booked for those Whiskey a Go Go shows. So all of a sudden we're flying on the other side of the world to play 2 sold out shows at the Whiskey a Go Go. And so yeah, I remember just being backstage at the Whiskey before we played, and you know, LA Guns, because we were opening up for LA Guns, and they just walked past, and one of, I think it was Phil Lewis, he just stops Donna and is like, "Hey, are you Donna D from the Babes?" And like we're just like, our mind was blown. It's like, how the hell do you know who we are? We're meant to say who you are. So that probably made us a million times more nervous to play. But then we played and it was like, you know, as I said, if there was no video footage of it, then I wouldn't believe it. But we were so lucky because then we played in Vegas as well. We got to play at Counts Vamped, which is pretty much the coolest venue I've ever been to in my life. It's just got, you know, a motorbike hanging from the bar, and you know,
Right.
it's on the TV show called Counting Cars. So it's like it's everything up right up my alley, and we got to play there. And we even got to go on like Las Vegas morning TV, which is you know, it's like 2 million people watch it every morning, and then all of a sudden our little old rock and roll band is on there performing. So yeah, that was just crazy to us, being there. And then like that wasn't even the highlight. The highlight for us was going up to South Dakota, where there's like a Sturgis motorcycle rally, and there's
Right.
like 500,000 people, all bikers with all their great Harleys, all their Indian motorbikes up there, and they're just there for like 10, 11 days just to hear rock and roll. So it's, you know, there's no better place in the world for our band than Sturgis. So yeah, we played at the Full Throttle Saloon, which is the world's biggest biker bar, and yeah, that was, yeah, a pinch yourself moment for sure.
So, how's that compared to like how's Japan playing in Japan like compared to US or playing in Australia? How's the Japanese fans?
So different in like so many good different ways. So the whole going to Japan and playing is was so surreal to us because they're a different kind of fan base altogether. They are so committed, and
Right.
they're just so actively interested. It's in Australia. Sometimes you play shows where people will stand back from the stage. There'll still be a great crowd, but they're a bit more hesitant to come to the front. You have to really pull them in. It's like JD's job to bring them in, and he does. But in Japan, they line up for like hours before we start playing, and they're at the front, and they are headbanging the entire set from start to finish. And what it does is it makes us have to exceed what we are doing, because we can't have them in the crowd outdoing our energy levels. So it brings out the best of us, and it just guarantees an epic night, because they're just such die-hard rock and rollers in Japan, you know. And they're just the rock and roll gang that we've got, a chapter in Tokyo that we've got, are just, they're so amazing. they want to, like, you know, have photos with us, and you know, they can't believe that we're there, and we can't believe that they're there. So Japan's like a very different experience. It's very much like the Runaways movie, when the Runaways go to Tokyo, and it's just like a bombardment of people. I don't know how we got it, but we get it sometimes when we're there. And yeah, we just feel like Japan's becoming our home away from home. They're already talking about another tour there. So we're 100% on board for that.
Right. So you actually supported a lot of bands like Elegance and Sebastian Bach, and also how was that you being a Kiss fan, being able to open for Ace Friendly?
That was crazy. Even crazier for Donna, because Donna's like a massive Kiss fan, but she's like an Ace huge Kiss fan. So
Right.
that was our first ever supporting gig of a main headliner as well. So we really felt like out of our element, but it was really a great experience. It was a sold out show in our hometown, so it doesn't get much better than that. But it was crazy, because I had done my world record like a month and a half earlier before that show, and we're setting up and loading in, you know, staying in the corner where the opening band belongs. And then all of a sudden Ace's backing band comes in, and Richie Scarlett, who was his guitarist at the time, says, "Hey, aren't you Moni Lashes? Didn't you just set a world record?" And it like completely made my like head pop that way. So yeah, I was blown away. He's like, "Come outside, have a smoke with me." I'm like, "I don't smoke, but I'm coming out with you." But yeah, that was a great show. We've been really, really lucky to open up and warm up crowds for like some really great bands, and they've usually been bands that, you know, we've grown up idolizing. So we can't get much happier than that.
Yeah. So you mentioned your world record. So the world record is you drum for 24 hours straight, right?
Yeah, I just set like a new record where I didn't have any breaks whatsoever. I didn't drink, didn't like eat, didn't have any toilet breaks. And I was doing it because our dad had multiple sclerosis, so that's like a autoimmune condition. And we were trying to fundraise money because he had medical treatment coming up, which we just couldn't afford at the time. So my sister and brother were holding fundraisers of their own kind, and they were really successful, but I hadn't done one yet. So I'm like, oh, I need to pull my weight, because, you know, elder sibling, I should think of something like, how can I help? And the only thing I could think of was drumming. You know, that's what dad had taught me. And if I had seen someone in the streets playing for 24 hours, you know, I'd go and chuck them 50 cents or $1, you know, if it helps. So yeah, I set up in our capital city in the main shopping district called Rundle Mall, and it was outside. So if it rained, it rained. If it was hot, it was hot. And I started playing at 2 p.m. on a Friday,
Right.
and I finished at 2 p.m. on a Saturday. And yeah, we raised in that 24 hours $11,000, and
Wow.
I was aiming for 200. So that was great.
Yeah, I saw that video actually, because you have that on YouTube, right? The video of that.
Yeah.
So you didn't take any breaks, right?
There's a point. No breaks, no breaks. There's a point in that video, it's like a highlight video for anyone who wants to watch it, but about, I think it's like 1:30 in the morning,
Right.
I start yawning while I'm playing, and I'm really starting to feel it, because I didn't intend on going the whole way through. The actual world record
Right.
allows you to have a 5-minute break every hour. You accumulate a 5-minute break every hour, but like I got 12 hours in, and I'm like, well, I haven't had a break yet. I might as well just keep going now. And then, you know, next thing I know, it's 24 hours and no breaks.
Right. Right. Because I saw that when you completed it, complete the 24 hours, you were like so weak, right? You felt like.
Yeah. I was so tired, and
Right,
I tried to stand up, but my legs were jelly, so I had to like lean back on my drums. Lucky my
right,
dad and husband were there to pick me up. But yeah, I actually thought that I'd have more pain in my wrists and my back, but I didn't. The only thing that I had was I lost my voice somehow. I wasn't talking a lot or anything, but I think it was because it was so cold at night time. I just lost
right.
my voice. And I also did something to my foot because I think I've like burst a blood vessel or something. It was all black and bruised in my bass drum foot. But that went away. So it wasn't too bad.
Right, right. um, one thing that I mean, you also like. What I also like is the the Harleys, the muscle cars, the bars, and all this American sort of blues like lifestyle. So, but what's happening right now is sort of these things are slowly going away, right? So, because all these other sort
I
of
know.
cultures are taking over. What your thoughts on that?
I think it's disappointing because um, there's so much style. It's not about so much the speed of the cars or the motorbikes or anything like that. I think it's like a representation of an era of like a good time rock and roll party era.
Right,
And I think if that keeps disappearing, that's gonna, I don't know, I just feel like there's nothing sexy about new cars.
right,
The sexy old cars have a certain shape. They have a certain rumble in the exhaust, in the cam, in the engine. In a hybrid, I don't hear it. I can't hear the engine in electric cars, so I can't get that feeling. And
right,
it's not made out of, like it's a Cadillac and it's a solid steel car, and then you drive, something that's a bit more plastic, it doesn't have the same feel. It's great for safety and it's great for the environment, which is a plus, but I just don't get the same vibe from it. I don't want to go and write a song or play guitar after seeing a Prius. I want to go and write a song after I feel the like Harley right in my gut, the like rumble going past. It makes me want to write a song about it.
yeah. I also really like these shows that you have, like in the History Channel, like where they restore these old stuff and they find like the pickers or the American Restoration. I believe you're also a fan of those shows,
That's right.
right?
Oh, absolutely. That's on my TV all the time. My husband actually like restores cars in his spare time. So he's got a Cadillac, he's got an Oldsmobile, he's got what else he got? He's got Valiants. Like I don't know if you know much about Valiants. That's more an Australian classic muscle car. So you
Right.
know our band car was the Chrysler Valiant. It's 1978 CL, and it's not the most reliable car in the world, but it got us to the shows.
Right. Modi, I want to show you something. Uh,
Yep,
so this is my drumsticks collection.
cool,
So
very good.
every time I go to shows, whenever meet the drummer, I try to like get something like from them. So I have a couple of great drumsticks. The last one I got was from Larry Mullen of U2.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that I was able to get. So I really like the drummers because I go to clinics and stuff as well whenever there's a clinic. Although I don't
No,
know how
that's
to play
awesome.
drums.
I don't ever have two of the sticks. I only get one. I'm only lucky enough to get one of their sticks, but your collection is better than mine.
Yeah. So this album that you actually released the latest album in 2020, right?
We released Dive Bars and Muscle Cars in 2019 officially because we released the CD and the vinyl record, and then
Right.
we put it on Spotify later because we try and promote the physical copies, try and
Right.
be a bit
Right.
more old school. But yeah, so technically it was 2019. We did an Australian tour of it in 2019, and then we also, I think we did Japan in 2019, and also we went to Iraq in 2019. That was with the new album when we performed for the troops over there.
Right. So can you tell me how this tour to Iraq happened and you played for the troops?
Yeah, we received a phone call from the Defence Force, which we thought was a bit of a scam because we're like,
Right.
they said, "Hey, we really like your band, and we'd like to send you to the Middle East to raise the spirits of the soldiers and represent the home country. And yeah, we'll take care of you. You'll have your own security detail, and it'll be maybe 2-3 weeks." And so when I got the call, I was like a bit skeptical because it sounded like my dream come true.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but we do get some scam emails every now and then. But yeah, it turned out it was legit, and we had to go get our vaccinations. We had to do lots of preparation, lots of medicals, lots of training, and we got sent to Sydney first to have some training in the defence base, and we went with a bunch of comedians as well, so some Australian comedians who were great.
Right.
And then next thing we're in Dubai, performing in Dubai for the American, the Australian, and a couple of I think Italian and Swedish troops as well. Then just depending on the security of the region at the time, we were meant to go to Afghanistan. We couldn't go there because of safety reasons, so we went to Iraq, and that was a predominantly American base, but there was lots of Australians and New Zealanders,
Hmm.
and we got to play 2 shows there as well, and it was in like the middle of a war zone.
Right.
So we had bulletproof vests, we had to have our helmets, we couldn't wander freely around the Defence Force camp base, but it was absolutely money can't buy experience, and I would do it again in a heartbeat because we met so many people over there who were just, whatever your political sidings are with war and all that sort of thing. Like when you meet the people who were there, who were fighting for what they believe,
Hmm.
we were more than honoured to perform for them and made some lifelong friends from them as well.
Right. So, going there in Iraq, and then was your impression of that place change when you actually arrived there? Because you hear this in the news, and like, and you're going there and experiencing it. Did it change?
We didn't because we landed directly in the base, like the
Right.
army base that was there, and we weren't able to freely go around without our security detail with us. All we saw pretty much was what you see on the news. So
Right.
even the place that we stayed, like we stayed in shipping containers that get converted into beds. And the place that we stayed at got rocket launched like 2 weeks
Right.
earlier prior to us getting there. So it was real risk of danger, but at no time did I feel like immense, terrifying feelings or
Right.
anything like that. I knew we were in good hands. But yeah, I didn't get to meet locals in Iraq. So we only met soldiers and only stayed within the base for our own safety. So yeah, from the vibe I got, it looks pretty much like what you see on the news because it's a pretty violent area, both sides over there.
Right. Because I interviewed someone before that actually had a show in Afghanistan, the local show, like with the locals. So he said like
Yeah.
his perspective of like war and all this thing that he saw in the news is totally different from when he landed and play with the crowd and with the locals. So it's like totally different thing. So it's
Yeah.
um but
I
it's
could imagine. I think it would be very different if you're in the
right.
local kind of scene. You're
Right.
playing to actual people who are based there. Whereas we were only there just to lighten the spirits and bring a bit of home back to the Australian troops and the Allied troops. So yeah, I bet if you were playing in the actual heart of the city or a local venue, then yeah, it would be definitely a different story.
Yeah, but it's a great experience and great because this is like what other people has done before, right? Like great artists have gone there. Even like I think Marilyn Monroe went there before,
I
right?
know. Well, that's exactly right. Because when they approached us, and I was running it past Donna, and running the idea of going to the Middle East again, past Donna, she's like, "That's what Marilyn Monroe did. That's what Elvis did."
Yeah, right.
And Yeah, they can't really want us. Like surely this is a joke. But yeah, so there's talks that we'll be going back one day, when everything settles down a little bit more. And we're 100% on board for that.
Right. So Moni, what's the upcoming plans? So I mean, you have your studio now set up. So what's going to happen on the next couple of months?
Well, the studio is probably about 95% finished now. So it's been a long process. I started it back in like April, the planning stages, and then we started building it. And now I've just got little jobs here and there to finish it off, and then it's full steam ahead recording. Hopefully by the time that's done, we might even do some video clips, maybe some live video clips in here. We've never done that before, but I think that's a good avenue, something different for our followers. If they're keen on it, they can see us perform a few live tracks in here. And then hopefully by the time the album's done, the world's calmed down a little bit and we'll be able to tour somewhere, because we were planning on going to Germany and the UK late last year, but that didn't end up happening, obviously. So, we've still got so many places we want to go and so many, cities we want to play to. So we're just waiting for that green light, and hopefully we'll have an album in our hand ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you can like come to Philippines or Singapore,
Yeah.
this region as well.
I know, we definitely wanted to. We were trying to tie it in. I think you remember with our first Japanese tour, we were trying to get to Singapore with you over there, but just didn't pan out that time. But maybe next time it will.
Right. So Moni, what's your message to the rock and roll gang and people who support you?
Well, from me and the babes, we're just so proud to have anyone who comes on board on our rock and roll gang. We love you guys. You're there through thick and thin. And if you've made it this far watching me dribble on, thank you. And we hope to see you at the next show, whatever city you're in. We can't wait to see you guys.
Right. Anybody you want to shout out to?
I'll shout out to Tommy and Nick and, and just the rock and roll gang generally. And I should probably say the band, like Joe, JD, Corey, and Donna, but screw them.
Right. I wanted to ask you, is JD means Jack Daniels?
You'd think so, but he drinks Southern Comfort. Nah, it's his initials, and that's what he came up with as his stage name. But he's a Southern Comfort man.
Right. So Moni, this is great that I was able to talk to you. I really enjoyed this discussion. So tell everyone how they can follow you and the band.
Yeah, well, thank you firstly for having me, because I really appreciate getting to chat to you. But if for anyone who's interested in checking out our band, we're on all the social media. All you have to type in is The Babes Rock. So it'd be like thebabesrock.com or facebook.com/The Babes Rock. We're on Instagram as well, The Babes Rock. But yeah, just if you type in The Babes Rock, you generally come up with us.
Right.
And yeah, we'd love to have you subscribe, follow us. It helps us more than you ever know, because yeah, social media is a world on its own. So the more that we can get you to tune in with us, the better it helps our band.
Right. So thank you, Moni. Everyone, that's Moni Lashes from Babes, the Babes. Thank you, Moni.
Thanks so much, man.
Rock and roll.